Fortnite's storyline is complex, really long and confusing at points, but in this video, I will be giving you a recap of the entire thing and every critical point of the lore that you need to know about for the entire Fortnite storyline. This will give you all of the information from Fortnite Chapter 1, Season 1, all the way until Fortnite OG Season. With that out of the way though, let's dive into the most efficient recap of the Fortnite storyline ever written. Now before we do though, one more quick thing, make sure to watch through the whole video. I never say this with any of my videos, but for this one, I'm going to say it. There are a lot of really important parts to the Fortnite storyline that are thrown in randomly between seasons, so if you're skipping around the video, while you may get some of the lore, you're going to be really confused at points because you will miss key details. So that's why I made the video as short as possible. Watch through the whole thing to fully understand Fortnite's storyline. Fortnite's storyline begins all the way back in Chapter 1. Now, in Chapter 1, Season 1, and Season 2, nothing happened. There was no storyline yet. But in Chapter 1, Season 3, a meteor showed up in the sky. In Chapter 1, Season 4, that meteor crashed down, and we were introduced to the first member of the Seven, the Visitor. Now, we don't know what the Seven is yet, but we'll cover that later. The Visitor collected data and returned back to his people by modifying a rocket on the map, blowing up an interdimensional rift in the sky, and heading back to his crew. That is all we knew at this point in time. In Chapter 1, Season 5, the rift began to cause chaos and bring in stuff from different dimensions. Now, this wasn't all good though. An unknown evil power began to sense that our Fortnite island contained some unknown power that was incredibly strong. So that unknown evil sent down Kevin the Cube to begin wandering around the map in search of that power. In Chapter 1, Season 6, Kevin the Cube finally reached the center of the map and located where that power was stored. He attempted to break into the vault and unlock that power, but was stopped by it and was blown into shreds by what we now know as the 0 Point. Kevin the Cube's goal was to harness the 0 Point's energy to open up a portal back to its allies to help conquer the map and take control of the 0 Point, but the 0 Point was able to overload Kevin the Cube with energy and stop him in its tracks, halting the evil takeover for now with a massive explosion of the cube. In Chapter 1, Season 7, though, we began to see the effects of this explosion. There was an ice moon circling around Fortnite's map, and when Kevin the Cube exploded, a portion of that ice moon was sent flying onto the map. This was the Ice King's moon. He's an amazing character, by the way, and I have a whole separate video covering his entire lore, but that takes a very long time to cover it. So for now, basically just know this giant sheet of ice that came crashing down onto the Fortnite island contained a ton of power on it, but more specifically, it had an Ice King and the prisoner that he was traveling with. The Ice King was attempting to keep his prisoner frozen, but unfortunately, after a season of them fighting it out, the prisoner escaped his shackles and got away from the Ice King's control. In Chapter 1, Season 8, the Ice King and prisoner settled their beef off screen. The Ice King wins, by the way, and then a volcano randomly popped up. Why not? That one's never really explained by the lore. I have great explanations for a lot of the stuff. The volcano, I don't. It just kind of showed up. Now, moving on back over to the center of the map. After the Chapter 1 Season 6 live event, the vault is now exposed and open. We can see where the 0 Point is located, and it is officially revealed to us. We get the unvaulting event after finding all of the keys to open this vault, and we get to see who is protecting the 0 Point. This is a member of the IO. At the time, we don't know that this is a henchman of the IO, and we don't even know what the IO are, so I'm not going to explain that yet, but just note that the IO is protecting the 0 Point, and this is our first time ever seeing it. Now, after the unvaulting event, just coincidentally, apparently the volcano explodes. Again, why not? It blows up a bunch of different landmarks, but the important one is the iceberg, and it unleashes the monster, the Devourer. In Chapter 1, Season 9, we see a little bit of a time skip, and the map is now futuristic. We need to stop the ice monster from eating the 0 Point, though, because we know it has now escaped. Paradigm, the second member of the Seven that we have now met, pilots a mechanical robot to defeat this monster, which, by the way, the IO built the mechanical robot, so Paradigm teamed up with the IO to help build this robot, but Paradigm was the only one that could pilot the robot. Now, in order to beat the monster, Paradigm needs to use the 0 point, crushes it, gaining its power, but in doing so, destabilizes it, creating massive chaos. In Chapter 1, Season X, the 0 point is very unhappy from that event, and it explodes. Now, the scientist, our third member of the 7 that we've met, pulls up because time just goes silly and he needs to fix things. The scientist basically does some goofy math and realizes that if he hits the 0 point with a very large object at the exact moment the 0 point basically unpauses itself from its little time freeze, it'll just make a silly little black hole instead of destroying all of reality as we know it. That's honestly the easiest way to explain it. If you didn't understand it, rewatch that again. Hopefully it'll make sense the second or third time through. It's a concept that's hard to get, but basically the 0 point froze itself in time. The scientists tried to stop it by hitting it with a really large object, and for some reason that worked. Now in Chapter 2, Season 1, the plan succeeded. We got a black hole, but that means that we got a new map. Now, Chapter 2, Season 1 is basically literally just that. We got a new map. There's some little side plots going on this season, but really nothing that big to the overarching storyline. So really all you need to know right now is that with that massive explosion of energy, with that creation of a black hole, somebody off in a very distant universe began to notice that energy. That somebody was Galactus from the Marvel Universe, and we'll get back to him in just a few seasons. In Chapter 2, Season 2, a fan favorite villain arrives. This is Midas. Now, Midas makes 2 teams across the map. These are Ghost and Shadow for literally no reason. He just is kind of silly like that. He wanted to make 2 different teams on the map. Meanwhile, while the 2 teams are vying for control of the map, he's making a doomsday device below the map. His doomsday device is trying to destroy the storm as we know it. During the live event, Midas activates this device, fighting back against the storm and the loop of Fortnite. Now, quick note here, just to clear some things up that confuse people very often, and this is very important to the storyline. The Fortnite loop is made by the IO and the 0 point, alongside the storm and the loop pool. Basically, what that means is that the loop of Fortnite is something that the IO created using the 0 point's powers to create the game of Battle Royale. The storm is something that the 0 point always has around it, basically just to stop people from getting too close to it. The IO, using their advanced technology though, harnessed the power of the storm and were able to control it so that it shrinks in and creates the game of Battle Royale. The loot pool is supplied by the IO. Of course, they are the ones that actually drop the guns onto the map in order to have the people fight on the map. Now, why do they do this? The IO as an agency is trying to find the best warriors and the most genetically pure people throughout the entirety of the Omniverse. The Omniverse is the entire world for Fortnite. It's literally everything. So basically, the IO's goal is to find who is the best, because the leader of the IO's goal is to find the most perfect people throughout all of existence and then use them to basically create a utopian society. He's a bit of a weird guy, but we'll get back to him in the future. I just wanted to clear that up. Alright, that's all we have for our sidebar. Let's get back to the Midas thing. Midas attempts to break the storm and get rid of the IO's control over the island, and kind of succeeds for a second. In that moment, we get rifted into Agent Jones's office due to Midas basically just glitching out the whole system. Now we know about the bridge, the area beneath the Chapter 2 map where the IO resides. Midas's device succeeds to push back the storm for a brief moment like I explained, but then it ends up failing. The storm kicks in and fights back, eventually correcting itself. But for the time being, he did manage to do something. He pushed it back, but when it came back, it was filled with water. For what reason? I'm not sure. That brings us into Chapter 2, Season 3. Now, Midas bugged the system so hard that he flooded the whole map. I'm still not sure why the storm became water, but with Fortnite's lore, at a certain point, you just kind of stop asking questions and just start hoping for the best, and that's literally all the season was. It was just a flood. In Chapter 2, Season 4, it was time for a massive lore drop, so get ready for some big lore this season. It's Marvel crossover time. Now, remember how I mentioned Galactus noticed the 0 point after the Season X event in Chapter 1? He's finally here to claim the power of the 0 point. Now, Thor, the god of thunder, summons a bunch of random Marvel characters to help protect the map, but really only Tony Stark matters. Iron Man literally pulls some Minecraft duplication level stuff and makes, I kid you not here, 1 billion battle buses all packed to the brim with banana bombs, or sorry, gamma bombs. I said too many B's in a row there. But basically, Tony Stark and us loopers drive the battle buses into Galactus and send him hurtling home to the Marvel reality. Now is a good time to talk about the Omniverse. The way Fortnite explains all of its crossovers is literally just by saying that every reality in all of existence is linked through the Omniverse. That means that the reality we reside in, like you watching this video right now, are in a reality that Fortnite could technically access through the Omniverse. So you are part of the Fortnite storyline. Now, I just wanted to clear that up really quick before it gets important later. This moves us into Chapter 2, Season 5. The 0 point is just like it was in Season X now. It's hurting pretty bad. Jones from the IO, this is our first time we actually officially meet Jones, is ordered by the quote-unquote head of the IO, Dr. Sloan, to go find the best hunters across the Omniverse to help stop people from escaping the loop. Jones gets people like the Mandalorian and a bunch of other hunters. That's really everything that happens this season. Oh, and also, by the end of this season, the 0 point is literally ready to just die and explode again. It's got a habit of doing that. Jones realizes the IO's gonna give up on it. They think they can't fix it though. So he makes a call to their mortal enemies, the Seven, to help them out. In Chapter 2, Season 6, the Seven are officially introduced to the storyline. Jones calls in the Foundation, the leader of the IO's enemy organization, the Seven, to fix the 0 point. This is our 4th member of the Seven that we have now met. The Foundation agrees, because he's just a nice guy like that, and literally sacrifices his life to contain the 0 point in the Spire and let it heal up for a bit. Now that the 0 point is safe and healing inside of the Spire, of course something has to go wrong on the map, and there's this guy named Roz. Basically, long story short, he gets too close to the 0 point, touches a goo leaking from it, and somehow that summons an alien invasion. That's the easiest way to explain it. Chapter 2, Season 7 brings in alien time. The aliens, also known as the Last Reality, these are, again, another big bad guy in the Fortnite universe, pull up and try to eat the 0 point by blowing up the Spire. Unfortunately, the aliens did not account for the fact that there was a Fortnite x Batman comic book series that happened during Chapter 2, Season 6, where apparently the 0 point just kind of shimmied its way down to the bridge, the place where the IO hides and conducts their operations from below the map. Also, by the way, the Foundation escaped to Batman's reality because why not? The IO officially shows themselves to the loopers, and Dr. Sloan is their leader. The Last Reality begins abducting POIs off the map to study in their spaceship. By using, I kid you not, cat food, the IO baits the Last Reality to start to abduct the POI of Corny Complex. Sloan has the loopers hide on one of the rocks though, and loads up the rock with explosives to blow up the Last Reality ship once they were all inside. Once us loopers are on the ship, guess who we meet up there? Kevin the Cube from Chapter 1. We deactivate his evilness and turn him to the good side with the power of friendship. I don't understand how that works, but that power of friendship doesn't last long, as Sloan reveals she's gonna blow up the explosives while we're still all on the ship. Before she manages to detonate them though, we're shown a room that contains hundreds upon thousands of Kevin the Cubes. We only thought that one Kevin the Cube existed. Its power is immense, and this alien invasion has thousands of them. Their power levels are truly beginning to be revealed. Sloan then successfully activates the explosives, and everything comes crashing down to the map, including all of those cubes. In Chapter 2, Season 8, all of the cubes are now just chilling on the map. The annoying cube, though, the golden cube, starts rolling around. He starts activating the other purple cubes and summoning them to the center of the map. They form a cute little pyramid, and turns out, whoa, there was a cube queen just vibing inside of the golden cube this entire time. She starts hovering above the pyramid that they created, warming up for the end of season live event. The Cube Queen was basically just summoning the rest of her army through a portal that she created with the golden cube. During the chapter finale live event, we fight against her, but her forces are overwhelming. Even with the help of the 7, things look like they're going south. The blue cube that we saved in Chapter 2, Season 7 even tries to help us, but we're barely making a dent in their forces. Once the 7 show up, though, it turns out things were going to plan all along. We run down to the bridge, the area under the map where the IO headquarters is, and the Foundation tells us to turn off the gyro system. To our extreme surprise, though, the map begins to flip over, drowning the Cube Queen and closing the portal to the invasion of the last reality, saving the map. Turns out we had a double-sided map this whole time. As the flip completes, the Chapter 3 map is revealed, and we're yet again thrown onto another map after having saved the day. In Chapter 3, Season 1, off the bat, the 7 are the rulers of this side of the map. It seems like we finally escaped the grips of the IO, but we quickly learn from the Foundation that the IO are the bad guys. This is when we are officially learning that the IO are evil, and we have to save the map from them. The IO quickly drill through the map, since they were stuck on the other side, those losers, and make it to what we are now calling the flip side, or the Chapter 3 map. The season ends with the IO returning to the map and the 7 preparing for an all-out war. Chapter 3 Season 2 is wartime. There's a lot that happens this season, but I'm going to distill it down as much as possible. First off, the Imagined, the Order, and the Origin are here now. The last 3 members of the 7 who have casually just been chilling on this side of the island are now introduced to us. Turns out the Origin was actually the Cube Queen's husband. The queen that we just beat in Chapter 2 Season 8, yeah, that's her husband, who is now a part of the 7. He's a good guy. That's awesome. And the Imagined and her sister, the Order, are the daughters of the true leader of the Imagined Order. That's right, Dr. Sloan is not the leader of the IO. There's somebody higher than her. Now, that leader, he wasn't very creative with their names, obviously, because he named them the Imagined and the Order. If you put that together, you get the Imagined Order. It's not really that creative. But anyways, they fight for the 7 now because their dad tried to kill them both at some point. We'll get to that later. Now, the IO are just really pissed off at this point, so Geno, the true leader of the IO and the father of both the Imagined and the Order, as we just discussed, plans to just blow up the entire map and start completely fresh. For reference here, Geno is like the Bowser of the Fortnite storyline. He is the final boss. Through an amazing Marvel x Fortnite comic series, the 7 meet up with Paradigm, the one all the way back from Chapter 1, their 7th and final member. Now, she was the one who fought the Devourer in the mech all the way back in Chapter 1 Season 9, but if you recall, the IO built that mech, and the IO and the 7 are sworn rivals. So all of the 7 thought that she was a traitor for a little bit, but in reality, she was just trying to be a helpful little person. So basically, all in all, the 7 are all friends again. This is when the Collider is revealed, the IO's master creation designed to explode the entire map, an improved version of Midas's doomsday device from Chapter 2 Season 2. This then starts the final battle. As the fight begins, Geno falls into the 0 point during a fight with his daughters and gets shredded into a million pieces. Unfortunately for us, he can reconstruct himself over time, so he's not dead, but for now, he's not an issue. Agent Jones and the Foundation go hurtling into the 0 point as well, since they want to hunt down Geno. They have technology, though, that stops them from being shredded into a million pieces. But before they do that, Jones seemingly kills Dr. Sloan and foils the IO plans, destroying the Collider with the help of Paradigm and the mech suit from Chapter 1 Season 9. In Chapter 3, Season 3, we get a season of peace, or at least we think it's a season of peace. Turns out, this entire season was just the 0 Point sending out distress signals while we ignored them all because we were just partying. In Chapter 3, Season 4, we get, yet again, a decent bit of lore. A strange chrome substance starts to show up on the island. While researching it, the Origin and the Scientist are consumed by it, leaving it unknown as to their whereabouts. We now do not know where 5 out of the 7 members of the 7 are. The Foundation is missing with Jones, the Origin and the Scientist have been consumed by the goo, and the 2 sisters, the Imagined and the Order, seemingly have died in a fight with Geno, or they're just missing right now. We currently only have the Paradigm left with us. Now, back to the story at hand. This chrome was from the Herald, yet another minion of the Last Reality, the same aliens who invaded in Chapter 2, Season 8. The Paradigm escapes though, and is able to warn us of the danger. After a season of basically playing the ground as lava with the chrome, during the live event, the Herald seems to win and consumes the entire map in chrome. Luckily for us though, we got off of that island in like rockets before we all died, and somehow the 0 Point survives a massive explosion as the Herald implodes and blows up the old map. Now, the 0 Point, realizing its whole island is now gone, feels sad, and it begins to grab chunks of the old map and chunks of islands from across all realities and forms a new map, throwing us in to Chapter 4. Quick warning before we hit the lore of Chapter 4, this chapter's lore is incredibly bad and all over the place, so don't feel dumb if you get lost. It makes sense to get lost because the lore makes no sense. In Chapter 4, Season 1, we kind of just time travel this season, but not for real yet. The island has this dude named the Oathbound. The Oathbound is just a really earlier version of Geno, the guy who made the IO and is the main villain of the Fortnite universe. So basically, the Oathbound just kind of makes his own version of the IO this season and then just disappears the next season. We don't really know where he went or why he was there or who he was, but he had this scientist guy make a portal for him, and basically, all in all, the portal did not work, and then the scientist also disappeared. So, yeah, it was a kind of weird lore season. There's not that much to say here. In Chapter 4, Season 2, legitimately nothing happened that's of importance to the overall storyline, so I'm not even gonna cover it. In Chapter 4, Season 3, turns out there was a massive jungle underneath the map this entire time. Some of the map caves in, and now we have a jungle biome spreading across the center of the map. Now, 2 characters make an appearance this season. The first one is Dr. Sloan. Turns out she did not fully die in the Chapter 3 Season 4 live event. She only just barely survived with the help of futuristic technology from an ancient civilization. If that sentence didn't make sense to you, that's a good thing. It doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. Alongside Dr. Sloan, that's right, we got Optimus Prime from the frickin' Transformers. He literally just exists to tell us we're in grave danger, and then he leaves. Yeah, it's his entire thing. Dr. Sloan then spends the rest of the season reconstructing a telescope to see what this danger is that Optimus is talking about. Turns out it's an eclipse. That's literally all we learned this season. In Chapter 4, Season 4, the eclipse is here, and so is a time-traveling, item-collecting, blood-sucking vampire guy, Cato Thorn. I thought this guy was going to be a sick villain. Turns out he just got a random off-screen death halfway through this season that no one ever even talked about. His entire purpose in the lore was just to pull up with a time machine for us to steal. And guess what? We stole it. Then Dr. Sloan brought it over to a farm and started running some tests on it. Once she felt smart enough about it, Agent Jones showed up out of literally nowhere and for some reason agreed to help her and go back in time to Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 5, bringing us into Fortnite Season OG. Now, the reason why there's no good lore videos for this season of Season OG is because there's no cohesive lore for this season. Dr. Sloan has a few audio logs talking to Agent Jones in the past, but besides that, it's not really clear what's going on. Nothing has really made any sense in the Fortnite lore since Chapter 3, so Fortnite's got a lot of redemption to be done with this live event. With that said, here's what we know going into it. In Chapter 4, Season OG, Agent Jones is teamed up with Dr. Sloan, a team up that, by the way, makes no sense based on the lore, because these two should be arch rivals after Jones betrayed the IO and then also tried to kill Dr. Sloan. The team up does not make any sense, but anyways, they've teamed up and they're trying to extract something from the OG map and bring it back to Chapter 4, Season 4 in the timeline. Dr. Sloan believes that if we do this, we can somehow fix something. We're not even sure what she's trying to fix, what she's trying to do, or why she's trying to do it, but all we know is that Agent Jones thinks that this cause is worthy enough to help out Dr. Sloan. Now, that being said, Jones has been tricked by Dr. Sloan like 1,000 times in the lore now, so he has to really trust her on this. So Dr. Sloan may end up being a good guy in this live event, but that is literally all we know. Currently, Agent Jones has brought the time machine over to the rocket that we're going to use to, I don't know. He has strapped it up to the rocket, and in the teaser trailer for the event, we see that the rocket is launching off with the time machine strapped to it. Are we going to be traveling through time during the live event on the rocket, going through all of the other live events that we've seen, or is it going to be something more like the Season X event where we make another black hole, blowing up the map and creating a new one? There's a lot of different ways this live event could take us, but if you've got any theories, make sure to drop them down in the comment section down below. This video is mainly a concrete lore video of everything that we have. If you want a separate video for all my theories on what's going to be happening in the live event, then leave a comment, tell me to make it, and I'll go ahead and make that, because honestly, I think there's a lot of different cool things that could happen, but like you guys know, now that you know all the lore, there's not really any concrete evidence of what's going to be happening. We're going into this live event pretty blind, and we don't know what's going to be coming out of it. Overall, this has been Fortnite's entire lore storyline in as brief of a video as possible. I know I keep saying brief, and this video did end up being very, very long, but as you guys heard, if you listen through the whole thing, all of that lore is incredibly important, so I felt like I had to address all of it. But overall, that is Fortnite's entire storyline and all of the lore that you guys need to know. Of course, some things were omitted from this video. There are random side plot lines that I skipped over because they're not that important to the main storyline, and of course, each one of these seasons you could go much more in depth in, but this is the overarching storyline. If you want to understand Fortnite's lore, this video gives you a really good grasp of what's going on. So overall, that's all of Fortnite's lore. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please consider using supporter creator code Gummyoshi in the item store, as this video took a very long time to make, and that would help me out a ton. Also, please leave a like on the video as always, so that this video does better in the algorithm and more people can actually see the lore and get caught up on it. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you want all future updates on Fortnite lore, news, tips and tricks, all that good stuff. I cover mostly everything here on the channel, so that's everything that you guys need to know for now. Like I said, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the music in the background. We got one of my best friends on cello and then one of my other best friends on guitar for this video, so there was a lot of effort put into this. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in the next one.